The ruling establishment has a lot of, they will stop at nothing to complete their toolkit of control, right? So one of the things that has been missing from the toolkit of total control has been quarantines and curfews, right? Mm-hmm. So now, welcome to the new world in America, where to get on a bus, to go through a subway station, if you think that the procedures at the TSA are onerous, right? Guess this is coming to a bus depot near you. It's a more invasive way, and the ruling class needs this. The point is to get hundreds of thousands of people infected with it and create the next phase of control. Now, one of the things I'd like to show to back up my my claims here. Here's a document from the Rockefeller Foundation. Rockefeller Foundation, right there. You can zoom in on that, where my finger is. It's called Scenarios for the Future International Development, the Rockefeller Foundation. All right. Okay. Let's take a look at what they're saying here. This is something like a 50, 60-page document. I'd like you to go to page 18, if you can look at this up on the internet, but I'll read it off to you. It's called lockstep, lockstep. And this is a phrase that I used right after 2001, when I saw the entire system of the United States, including the population, were in lockstep. So the Congress went along, and yes, it was Osama bin Laden, and the people waved their flag and said, I hate, 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 and everything was in lockstep. Well, in 2010, they published this, Rockefeller Foundation, and here's what they're saying. They're saying that they call it a scenario. These are scenario narratives, and they speak about it in the past tense. So they put out this scenario, lockstep. A world of tighter, top-down government control and more authoritarian leadership with limited innovation and growing citizen pushback. Okay, I'll read a little bit of it. In 2012, the pandemic that the world had been anticipating for years, nobody was anticipating a pandemic, finally hit. Unlike 2009's H1N1, this new influenza strain originating from wild geese, they use some scenario, but this is Ebola they're talking about. Ahead. Even the most pandemic-prepared nations were quickly overwhelmed when the virus streaked around the world, infecting nearly 20% of the global population and killing 8 million in just 7 months, the majority of them healthy young adults. The pandemic also had a deadly effect on economies. You can see that agenda. Just naked, raw, naked control agenda written down, and it's anybody's guess how this becomes effectuated in real life. Right? Okay, the pandemic also had a deadly effect on economics. International mobility of both people and goods screeched to a halt. Which is what they want. They want a completely isolated world, right? Debilitating industries like tourism and breaking global supply chains. Well, of course they want tourism stopped, because they're not in the tourism business, and they want you at home in your house in front of the TV. Then they got you, because once you watch the TV, they own your soul. Even locally, normally bustling shops and offices sat empty for months. Okay, so I love how they talk about it in the past tense in 2010. Right? The pandemic blanketed the planet, though disproportionate numbers in Africa died. Southeast Asia and Central America, where the virus spread like wildfire. Here's this one. I love this one. The United States' initial policy of strongly discouraging, in quotation marks, strongly discouraging citizens from flying proved deadly in its leniency. So they're saying, that...
No, keep going.
Okay,
read it.
Proved deadly in its leniency. So they should have been tougher, right? Accelerating the spread of the virus, not just within the United States, but across borders. However, a few countries did fare better. China in particular. The Chinese government's quick imposition and enforcement of mandatory quarantine for all citizens, as well as its instant and near hermetic sealing off of all borders, saved millions of lives, stopping the spread of virus far earlier than in other countries. So the message here is we have to look towards the Chinese, the oppressive totalitarian Chinese regime, as an example of what we need to be doing here. And of course, the ruling class here loves the Chinese regime, because they have demonstrated to the ruling class the most efficient form of capitalism, which is authoritarian capitalism. So we have capitalism, but unfortunately we have this veil.
I get it.
We have this veil of democracy.
This is very interesting. This is continue on.
Okay. Okay. China's government was not the only one that took extreme measures to protect its citizens from risk and exposure. During the pandemic, national leaders around the world flexed their muscles, flexed their authority, and imposed airtight rules and restrictions. You can see the agenda.
Okay, no, go.
Okay. From the mandatory wearing of face masks to body temperature checks at the entries to communal spaces, like there's some good stuff. Listen to this. And even supermarkets, they want body checks at supermarkets, okay? So basically what they're saying is they're building a system where every move you make, you got to go through them.
You can't get food. Well, how about if you go to the farmer's market?
Right. Here's the good stuff now. I mean, it just keeps getting better. Even after the pandemic faded, this more authoritarian control and oversight of citizens and their activities stuck and even intensified. That's the whole point. So they're going to get rid of...
Didn't that happen already with 9/11?
Of course.
9/11 was how many, 14 years ago, and we still have all these draconian
so
rules.
So they're going to put the body cavity
USA
searches
Patriot and all that.
That's right. So in order to get to a supermarket, you got to have a body cavity search. And, well, you know what? We kind of like this way because we have an complete infrastructure of a control grid. In order to protect themselves from the spread of increasingly global problems, from pandemics and national terrorism to environmental crisis and rising poverty, leaders around the world took a firmer grip on power. Well, what the hell would rising poverty have anything to do with imposing strict citizen controls with face masks? So they're very sloppy stuff here. At first, the notion of a more controlled world gained wide acceptance and approval. Citizens willingly gave up some of their sovereignty and their privacy to more paternalistic states in exchange for greater safety and stability. I mean, that's just a complete naked contradiction to the famous saying that if you think you're going to give up a little bit of security, I mean, if you're going to give up your freedom for security, you're going to get neither. That's the long-standing thing. And here what they're doing is they're not even ashamed or embarrassed to absolutely say the exact opposite. They're saying, yes, we all want to give up our privacy and sovereignty for more stability and security and stability. So you don't get that. When you give it up like that, you get the shaft. The main thing to finish off this show is this, that they want to get more control, more and it's going to be curfews and quarantines. So what I'm saying is that unless the American people start to get some new way to revolt, a new way to organize, new way to protest, unless we can break through the apathy, because that's what we have here, then it's going to be a slave state here. The ruling class doesn't seem to have too much resistance. They're getting everything on their Christmas shopping list, and they've been wanting quarantines and curfews for a long time. Now they got it. And if you want to live in a world where you're tricked into all this stuff because it's for your safety, right? And if you want to have a probe and make sure you got to check your pockets, make sure you don't have anything incriminating on you before you go out, and when you step out of your house, you want some police there to monitor and see what you're doing. If that's the world you want to live in, be apathetic, don't do anything. You're going to get that world very soon. It's coming your way, definitely.
Let them talk. I'm Paul DiRienzo, and we have returning a great guest. Glad to have him back, Harry Vox. Wow, it's been a while since we've been back. We've been talking about these issues having to do with the news and with your take on the news, which is fascinating. I think it's worth coming back again and again to talk about this stuff. We don't always agree, but we always have fun.
Well, let's jump into this one.
Well, it's Germ warfare, right?
Last time I was here, we spoke about the Rockefeller plan. Right. Rockefeller plan was, and this was 5 years ago. It was 2014, right? And this Rockefeller plan, and the name of the plan, in case anyone wants to look it up, it's called from the Rockefeller Foundation, called the Scenarios for the Future of Technology and International Development. Nice sounding name, but it spoke about how we can instill martial law by just infecting the people with a pandemic, and then we can protect them. It was a protection racket, basically, and that's what's going on today. And the one thing we have to discuss here is that this, if you try to get a handle on the U.S. bioweapons research, because, any kind of development of bioweapons is is against the international
law.
Prohibited. Yeah, it's prohibited.
Which the U.S. has signed on to.
Yeah. So what they do is they say, okay, we're not developing bioweapons. What we're doing is we're creating them so that we can research them. Okay, and of course the difference.
Well, the research reactors, you have a lot of that kind of stuff going on.
But you know what though? But research. If you look at some of the research that they're doing, here's one. Because when I see they do this attack. Well, first of all, let me complete the first thought. There's a vast network, and when you try to actually get a handle on it, try to get to see how much money is spent on it, you find out it's all throughout universities throughout America. It's private corporations. It's hundreds of billions of dollars, and it's everywhere. Every branch of the military has it. Every DARPA is in control. They have
What's
all
DARPA?
these
Tell people.
Defense Advanced Research Project Agency, and then they have all these acronyms called like the Cooperative Bioengagement Program.
Why is the United States so evil?
Because
haven't you benefited? We've all benefited in this wonderful country.
You can't say the United States is evil. A small cadre of people within positions of power, and I'm saying that not all these people that are in this vast network of bio research would be interested in doing bioterror on every. No, that's not what I'm saying. I'm saying that it's not. It's done through compartmentalization. So, okay, but the
and who's doing this bio research? Who's in charge of it?
The US. The people who are in charge of it. The name of the program is the Cooperative Biological Engagement Program of the Defense Threat Reduction. Again, it's not reduction.
So it's Department of Defense. This is coming out of the Department of
Defense. DARPA, though, is the guy who's the main.
So DARPA is the authority.
Yeah, but you know what? It's U.S. Air Force has a program. U.S. Army.
They always do. They always do.
Yeah, Fort Detrick, Maryland, is where they developed AIDS.
Right. But some would say the deep state is the CIA. There's always been a fight between the military intelligence and the civilian intelligence agency.
Well, you can't be. You know what it is? There's nothing that's set in stone. All this stuff is fluid, depending on what year, what time, what political.
The people involved in it.
Sure. I mean, who would have thought that the Democrats would be bowing at the feet of the CIA? I mean, okay, so. Or that the liberals would
Originally,
entrust.
they were people coming in. The CIA or the OSS were people coming from the Ivy League schools, which were the crème of the crop. The really hardcore bourgeois class.
Yeah.
But those are the liberals today.
And now it's the left liberals who worship at the feet of the, neoliberals. But it's not even the neoliberals, because, see, you can't even use these terms anymore, because, see, the word liberal doesn't mean anything. I'm a liberal. Neoliberal is a fascist scumbag who judges you based on how much money you have, how much
that's what I always thought it was.
A piece of shit. That's a neoliberal.
That's what I always thought.
So, and then I say to myself, okay, well then, if there is this compartmentalization, how does the germ get out of the lab and into the field? Right?
Like Lyme disease?
Like Lyme disease or Ebola in Liberia.
Okay.
So so we have these labs. They're all over the world. They're all over the United States academia. And because if you're a scholar and you're a biological researcher, money is the lifeblood of your business. If you don't have the money, you're finished. Okay, so you're going to work for them. Now, these are dual-use programs, and there's many scientists that are looking at these.
Dual use.
Dual use means these are what scientists have published in the Journal of Science, saying we are really concerned about these U.S. bioprotection programs that can easily be used as bioterror. Okay.
In other words, something that's sold as pure research has a dual use. It might be useful in agriculture.
That's right. Agricultural research.
But it has a weaponry use.
Here's an article that is in Science magazine. It's not a conspiracy theory. Right. It's called
I don't think it is.
Agricultural.
We wouldn't be here if I thought it was that simple.
Okay. Title is, and you can look it up, Agricultural Research or a New Bioweapon System. And these insects, what they're doing is they're infecting like aphids and grasshoppers and mosquitoes with all these biological weaponized biocontaminants, and they're releasing them into the air. What the fuck purpose would that be except for
But isn't there a problem? Because they used to say HIV was created to infect the black community or drug addicts and stuff like that. Maybe so, but it got out of the area. Plenty of wealthy people's children got it too.
Nobody's saying that these scumbags have a well-honed plan. They are shooting they're shooting around in the dark, hoping for money. And you know what? No matter what happens, they still cash in. So they don't really care. So Google, you got to understand, Google is a scrubbing operation right now. So if it's political and it goes against the ruling class, you're not going to find it on Google. Period. It's gone. So, for example, in Russia right now, they're all saying that the United States is behind this bioweapons. Good luck finding one hit on Google. You cannot find it. But if you go to alternative search engines, you can find evidence that they're all talking about it in China and Russia, that this is a U.S. bioweapons. Good luck finding it on Google.
You mean coronavirus?
Coronavirus. So Google, and this is not
so
accidental.
Okay, what is coronavirus? Let's go to China. What's happening to China?
Well, this is a bioterror weapon against China. And they say, oh, and what happens is, what they do is, and this is always how they do it, they release the virus in a city that has a weapon, a biological lab, so that when U.S. researchers find the virus, they say, and they discover that there's a lab there, they say, oh, well, see, there's a bioweapons lab in Wuhan, so it must have been Chinese. No. If you are waging biological warfare on China, you're not going to dump it in the woods somewhere. You're going to release that toxin in a city that has a bioweapon. So idiotic researchers in the United
Wuhan
States.
has a...
They have a biological research facility that's a grade 4 facility.
What does that mean?
They have various grades of security.
The higher the grade, the more secure?
Yes, of course, and the more that you can do it. They only have one in Wuhan. We have so many of them that scientists are saying the United States has too many of these bioweapons labs, and we don't need them.
So you're saying this isn't like a Chinese bioweapon that got out, just like
That's
they say...
That's what the cover story is, that it's a U.S. bioweapons lab, and then to make...
Wait, the cover story is that it's a U.S.?
No, that it's a Chinese bioweapon. I'm sorry, that it was Chinese bioweapon.
Yeah.
But what it is the United States is trying to sound like the reasonable voice by saying, oh, no, that's a conspiracy theory. First of all, they don't even want people to think that this thing was planted. They wanted to think that it's a naturally occurring thing.
Absolutely.
But not really, because then why would they plant it near the Wuhan facility? So what this is the same kind of MO that the CIA uses. What the CIA does, and this is proven in Vault 7 release, that's Edward Snowden papers, when the CIA releases a computer virus into the world, they hide Russian code and Russian characters into the computer virus, but they don't really hide it that well. They kind of sort of hide it, and then
Trump has gone down the tubes.
Look, everybody hates Trump for the wrong reasons. They hated him for the wrong reasons, right? I now hate him for the right reasons, so not for the wrong one. Everybody hated him. You got to understand that when Trump came into office, he said, "Oh, I'm going to gut the ruling class and I'm going to end the wars." The liberal class should have just got on their knees and worshipped him for that. Instead, the Zionist media conned the liberal class.
What's the Zionist media? We got to explain it.
The American media is the Zionist media. Okay, so now I try to ask myself, how in the world do they get from the lab, where there are people that are developing these in academia, to the field where they disperse it? And I said there must be some kind of operatives who either, and on your show 5 years ago, I said they would sprinkle it or maybe fly a little drone or something. Okay, so look what we have here. United States patent for a drone, right? One of these little toy drones. But you know what this toy drones does? It's a toxic mosquito aerial release drone. Okay. Can you imagine? And
where did you get that?
This is a U.S. patent number 8967029B1. So it's got this one does a mosquito. It's got a mosquito breeding bin in it, which has a door that opens up and releases. You can't even make
disease-laden mosquitoes.
Yeah. And the idea is, why the fuck would you need a patent for this kind of stuff? It's not like there's going to be a lot of. Usually, you get a patent to make sure that competition doesn't come in and bring a product to market. Who's going to market this? And you're only going to use this in secret, so nobody's going to, Thank you, United States government, for being the scummiest shit on the planet. Okay, now.
Wow, that's better than Pelosi.
Well, because Pelosi is a duplicitous piece of shit.
Okay.